May 9th, 2022 regular Wasilla City Council meeting is called to order. The time is 6 p.m. Before we begin, council, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business to attend to during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless speaking. Before we begin, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business to attend to the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless speaking. Tim, you need to mute your phone, please. Thank you. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to all attendees, the meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly in the back of council chambers, right above the clock. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Here.
Councilmember Graham.
Here telephonically.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
Here telephonically.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Rubio.
Here.
Councilmember Block is absent and excused this evening unless there's objection from the body. You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor. Councilmembers Sullivan, Leonard, Graham, and Johnson are participating telephonically. Councilmembers Brown and Rubio are with us in person.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Ilene, would you lead us, please?
I'm happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda?
Madam Mayor, Stu Graham.
Stu?
Madam Mayor, I would like to change the agenda by adding item 7.1.1A, which would be a committee of the whole to discuss Ordinance Serial 22-3 before public hearing.
Wait, Stu, please repeat that all again.
Sure. So I'll let the clerk figure out the numbers. I would like to have, prior to the public hearing on item 2, I would like to have a committee of the whole to discuss Ordinance Serial 2213 with no action to be taken following the committee of the whole.
Oh.
Code of Ethics, Councilmember Graham.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Is that the Code of Ethics, just so we're all on the same page?
Yes, ma'am.
Ordinance serial number 2213, so committee of the whole before the ordinance, before the public hearing is taken?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Is there objection
To adding the item.
to adding an item? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. We are now at special orders of the day. There's one proclamation that I will read. City of Wasilla Proclamation recognizing Arbor Day. Whereas April 29th, 2022 has been designated National Arbor Day by the Arbor Day Foundation. And whereas Arbor Day, a special day set aside for the planting of trees, is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas, due to ground conditions in Alaska, the state of Alaska and the city of Wasilla designate the third Monday in May as Arbor Day annually. And whereas May 16th, 2022 has been designated as Arbor Day in Alaska. And whereas the city of Wasilla has earned national recognition as a 2022 Tree City USA by the Arbor Day Foundation, in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. Whereas, as a result of Wasilla's commitment to effective urban Forest management, our community joins more than 3,400 Tree City USAs, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-saving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore I, Glenda D. Ledford, Mayor of the City of Wasilla, do hereby proclaim May 16th, 2022 as Arbor Day in the City of Wasilla, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support the efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of these future generations. Dated this 9th day of May, 2022. Okay, tonight we have 3 scheduled, no, wait a minute.
I don't know if they're here.
I don't know. Okay. We have, now we're on to commission agencies reports. Is there a representative from Wasilla High School? Please state your first and last name.
Robin Lockwood. Mayor and members of the board, my name is Robin Lockwood and I am co-advisor of the leadership class at Wasilla High. As we see here tonight, the spring is a busy time for everyone, so our students are involved in many activities and none of them were able to make it this evening. So baseball, softball, girls and boys soccer were all in Fairbanks this past weekend. Regions and states for all spring sports will be at the end of May and early June. Boys track and field placed first in this weekend's Palmer Invitational. Senior Awards Night is this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the gym. This is a wonderful opportunity to celebrate and highlight the class of 2022 and all of their accomplishments. Classes are finishing up. Senior finals are this week. The last day for seniors is Thursday, and the next week are finals for freshmen and juniors. Graduation is Thursday, May 19th at 7 p.m. at the Menard Sports Center. We have 161 graduates that will be walking with us. Finally, Warrior Nation would like to thank Mayor Ledford and the City Council members for your continued service to our community.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Hearing none. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. We are now at public participation. There are 3 ordinances scheduled for public hearing this evening. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the first ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's ordinance serial number 2212, amending the fiscal year 2022 youth court budget by accepting $4,120 in registration fees for the annual United Youth Courts of Alaska Conference in Wasilla, Alaska, and appropriating these funds into the Mat-Su Youth Courts budget for general supplies.
The public hearing on ordinance serial number 2212 is open. Anyone who would like to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Seeing no one, public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2212?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Brown, move 2212.
Is there a second?
Moving a second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Brown and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to adopt ordinance serial number 2212. Is there discussion? Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, it is approved. Okay.
Motion now to enter committee.
Madam Mayor, this is Mr. Graham.
Yes.
I move we enter committee as a whole for discussion of ordinance number 2213.
Is there a second?
Second by Councilman Johnson.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to go into the committee of a whole. So we are now in the committee of the whole.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Graham.
Yes, sir.
So I'd asked for this so I could get some clarification before we vote this ordinance up or down. So I'm going to ask several questions. I don't know if it would be best for me to ask the question, get it answered, and then ask the next question, get it answered, or how you would like to run your meeting to get that done. What would you prefer that I do to handle
I prefer,
several?
I prefer you ask a question and then you wait for the answer.
All right, fine. Thank you. So I'm dealing with a paper packet, and I'm on page 14 of 159, which starts at line 87, dealing with immediate family. So, the ordinance talks about, taking action, that benefits immediate family if they're residing with the person taking the action or providing substantial financial interest, to that person with which they reside. My question to the attorney would be, what about family members not living with the person who is taking some sort of action or requesting some sort of action to be taken?
Councilmember Graham, so this is the APOC definition. This is one of those definitions we streamlined. And it's a really great point because it is far more restricted, or I guess it's less restrictive in that it only includes an immediate family, the domestic partner, parent, child, stepchild, adopted child, and sibling of a person if the parent, child, or sibling resides with the person, is financially dependent on the person, or shares a substantial financial interest with the person. And I only repeat those components of the definition for others. But so it allows for the council to say have a nephew or a niece that's staying with them that would not meet this definition. There are other definitions that Wasilla has used in the past that would be more inclusive.
And what if, let's use me, for example. I was to take some action that was to benefit a family member not living with me. Would that be considered, inappropriate under this ordinance? The way I read it, I could do that, which I don't think doesn't match up with what we were trying to do.
No, you could do that. And I think our original definition of family, you could not do that.
If I may,
Under
Madam.
this definition, because it aligned with APOC, you could do that. And I agree with you. I think that a more restrictive definition is a better definition. A better definition because it'll line up with conflict of interest provisions that we see in the court. But we did want to bring to council the changes mirroring those APOC definitions. But we can definitely change immediate family to mean all of these people full stop. So you have, and what I mean by that is it can simply include the spouse, domestic partner, parent, child, including the stepchild and an adopted child and sibling of a person, period. And so it's a very easy one to check. And you just simply remove the residency requirement and the dependency requirement. So Councilmember Graham, if you wanted to make a motion, for example, to amend this, and I think that you can do that at this stage. It's okay because it's kind of substantial change in circumstances given the whole of the ordinance. But you would simply say, I move to amend Ordinance 2213. Councilmember Graham, are you talking? Or is that just the phone? So a motion to amend.
No, I'm not talking. I just came off of mute. So I'm getting some sort of feedback from somewhere.
Would it be useful if I?
But I have heard everything you said. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like me to give some language for a motion, or would you like me to wait?
Jamie?
Councilmember Graham, this is the city clerk here, and so just kind of for the context, at one of our earlier work sessions, the direction was to mirror the APOC definition, which is why you see that in here. But in your packet, if you do, after we get out of committee the whole and we have a main motion to adopt, I'm not sure if you want to go back to the original definition, which is on page 47 of the packet, and that was Ms. Wells' PowerPoint definition. Anyway, it gives the existing law and then the proposed change to definition of immediate family. So if that's something you're interested in doing, you would find it on page 47. Or you could change it in a different way. I hope that helps. Thank you.
It does help. Thank you. Unless Ms. Wells has any objection, I'll just use her words there. So if she wants to come up with some legally sufficient amendment that would reflect that, and we can pick it up later, that would be fine. Thank you.
You have any other questions, Mr. Graham?
Of course I do.
Of course you do.
So on line 154, which for me is on page 16 of the printed packet, it says, any effort to benefit a substantial financial interest through official action is a violation of the public trust. I would kind of like to see that say any effort to benefit or produce a substantial financial interest is a violation of the public trust. I just see that as kind of a weak spot in there, because I may take action that's not going to benefit me right off the bat, but it certainly could benefit me in the future, and that could be part of my reason for bringing something forward. I don't know what the rest of the council thinks of that.
Holly?
Councilmember Graham, through the mayor, that is a great point, because it really draws attention to the interplay between the definitions and the code provisions. So while it says substantial financial interest through official action, that word official, or that term official action, is defined in the definitions on page 14, line 98. And I think that definition really speaks to your concern. It covers a lot more. And for the record, so it's official action means a recommendation, decision, approval, disapproval, vote, or other similar action, including inaction, when it is the equivalent of the decision to take negative action, made while serving in the capacity of city official, whether such action or inaction is administrative, legislative, quasi-judicial, advisory, or otherwise. So the definition is it's a mouthful, but I think it covers your concerns. Maybe. Does that address your concerns?
No, it doesn't, but I can live with that. I think it would be much more clear if we said to benefit or produce substantial financial interest. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Graham, your next question.
Here we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And now on page 26 of the written packet, line 383, where it talks about filing a complaint. Says any person who believes that a violation has occurred may file a written complaint for the potential violation with the city clerk's office. I think one of the things that we learned when Wasilla's own Sarah Palin was governor was that people with no interest, substantial interest in the outcome, were filing complaints just to crowd the system and to divert attention away from other things. So my question would be, where it says says any person who believes that a violation, is that only a person? Can an organization file a complaint?
Yes, in theory, the definition of person in your code is, it can apply to an organization or an entity.
Read that, page 15, line 112, Ms. Wells.
And then the second part of that question would be is, if it is a person, does that person need to be a citizen of the city of Wasilla, or can anybody file an ethics complaint?
You do not need to be a citizen of Wasilla. So the idea is that, I mean, we do have a gatekeeping measure in place regarding complaints so that frivolous complaints do not make it to a hearing officer, that they're sort of stopped at the administrative level to prevent just what you're worried about. But a person is just and then on page 15, line 112, we just define a person as a natural person, corporation, or an organization. And in order to having a system that would prevent people from raising a complaint or a violation if they weren't citizens of the city would likely constitute a constitutional violation on an issue, because we're treating people who are substantially similarly. But if you wanted to eliminate the ability for an entity to bring a complaint, that is something we can look into. Interestingly, corporations are also protected by the Equal Protection Clause. That happened about, I guess probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So that is also a bit risky.
Next question.
All right, thank you. I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, may I continue?
Please.
So my next question is on page 30 of the printed packet, starting at 496 through 499, lines 496 through 499. Basically, it deals with confidentiality for a person filing a complaint. To me, this just sounds, it just sounds wrong. If a person has been wrong or feels that the action of a council member or a director is going to cause them harm or cause the city harm, I think the person defending themselves against that complaint has the right to know who's filing it. There's, particularly in today's world, there's so much malice, and just almost spite. I hate to say it, but people do things just to get in the way. And if the first time that the person answering the complaint is aware of who it is before the hearing officer, that really doesn't give you time to prepare an adequate. I'll call it a defense, since this is a legal thing. It really doesn't give you time to prepare an adequate defense, since you have no idea who is the person filing the complaint. Your comments on that, Holly?
Yes, so in general, based on the complaint process, the person who is the subject of the complaint will know who the person filing the complaint is. The public will not. The documents will not identify that person. They will have an identity number assigned to them. So it's really more to keep the entire process confidential. And the name of if a person files a complaint and they want to maintain that confidentiality, allowing them, the confidentiality is not to prevent you from addressing them and facing that allegation. It's to prevent the public from watching that proceeding and being aware and identifying the issues before a decision is made.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Colleen?
Yes, Councilmember Sullivan Leonard. I just wanted to say, at the state level, when an ethics complaint is filed, there is a sense of privacy involved with that. And part of that is just the thought that there could be political blowback on someone that may be filing a complaint. And then also so that there's no prejudice in the sense of who may or may not be filing. So I understand what Councilmember Graham is saying, but it's kind of a protective mechanism actually for both members, the person filing the complaint and then the person who has a complaint filed against them. So it keeps both sides out of the factor while they're doing their due process of fact-finding to figure out if there truly was an ethics complaint or not. So anyway, that's my input. Thanks.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Graham.
So, backing up to the attorney's comments, she was cutting in and out. I don't know if she just wasn't clear enough to the mic or what the story was, but what I kind of gathered from what she said is if I were to file a complaint against another council member, that complaint would be known, or the complainant would be known to the person who is the subject of that ethics complaint, but not to others. Is that correct?
Yes, but Councilmember Brown, I do want to correct something I said because there is a mechanism in subsection G, which is the one that you're citing, where you can file a request for full confidentiality with your complaint. And I misspoke. I forgot about that provision, which is very important. Then that was added to protect the individual's identity throughout the process. But the process remains confidential for the person who is the subject of the complaint as well. The idea being that as public officials subject to a code of ethics, the public as a whole has an interest in compliance with the code of ethics. So whether the individual bringing the complaint identifies themselves or not, the obligations remain, and we want those. We want to be aware of those violations for all of us subject to the code of ethics. So that is the theory behind this, and that's why we added this provision, but required that to be triggered early on.
Okay, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Thank you, Madam Attorney, and Madam Mayor. That completes my comments. Thank you to Councilperson Sullivan Leonard for participating. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to come out of committee of the whole.
Councilman Brown move.
I need a second.
Rubio second.
It's been
Madam Mayor?
Mr. Johnson.
Okay, I've had several questions. I apparently am not getting through. I'd like to follow up on Councilman Graham's last point. In the current environment where it's situated we're in a situation where you're guilty until proven innocent in many cases. And without having the ability of knowing exactly who is complaining, the guilt is presumed. And that's part of the issues that we're getting in right now, is that we can make a allegation against somebody, and it's because of you're going to hide who that is. There's really no way of defending against that, other than the fact that there's an allegation, and the allegation then becomes fact, and now you're guilty by fact. I mean, you can't defend yourself.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Brown.
Councilman Johnson, my understanding is not only does the complaint have some privacy, but the council member also have some privacy. If the allegation is determined to be frivolous and unfounded, neither one of you will be known to the public.
That, I understand that, Councilman Brown, but that's not the issue that I'm talking about. If somebody were to say that they were sexually abused by somebody and they want their confidentiality maintained, okay, there's no way of the person that's being accused to defend himself against that. See that all of the time in the press. So how can you say, I didn't abuse this person if I don't even know who the person is when the allegation happened, and the person on the hearing, all he hears is, oh, this person abused so-and-so. Okay? There's no way you can defend that unless you have an open court, so to speak, where you have a defendant and you have the person being accused, the accuser. I mean, that's our whole judiciary process in the United States. So by circumventing that, hiding the accuser, it is not a very good system. And yes, if you're going to make a complaint against somebody, then you should have the right of the accused to face his accuser. That's part of our law.
Holly, you want to weigh in on this?
Well, one thing I would say is while this code of ethics is very expansive, it doesn't cover everything. If someone is sexually abused, they will be taking advantage of the other laws and the enforcement and penalty provisions provided under the law. And here we would be looking at only the prohibited acts that are laid out in the code. It's really designed to be a ethical parameters for the decision-making process. So that hopefully that situation does not arise. But you are right. You are right that an individual would be able to say, I want this to remain confidential. I do not want my identity disclosed, and the process would move forward in that way. However, the risk of media attention is eliminated here, because if that person, whether they're identified or not, exposes, because remember, the hearing officer knows who this individual is as to, and so it's not that they're not anonymous, it's just they're protected, but they're not anonymous. But the second that they disclose anything regarding the complaint in public, the complaint is dismissed. So it's immediately dismissed, and and that's designed to ensure that people are incentivized to keep this process confidential.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
I'm very comfortable with that. I really am.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor?
Colleen.
Yes, question to Holly. I guess I feel like we're going kind of down a path that maybe is not within the parameters of an ethics complaint that would normally be coming through the city of Wasilla. And if there was, in fact, a sexual harassment complaint, wouldn't the hearing officer kind of put the complainant at a stopping point and say, that's something you're going to have to go to the judicial system and not through city of Wasilla?
Yes, it's really not within, if a person has accused a city official of sexual abuse or harassment or assault outside the personnel policies and the that's going to go to the police. It's going to go through that process first to the extent that a decision is issued, and then they come and bring a code of ethics violation, and that's really what looking at. I would expect a hearing officer to issue, in essence, a motion to stay.
Well, I understand that's what your expectations of it is. So let's put that in writing then.
Okay, what's difficult about that, I guess we could add a provision that addresses criminal conduct or, but really I think the best, so when you have a complaint and it's addressing something, that would require a decision by a court. Then it goes to the hearing officer, and a hearing officer is in a position to weigh what that specific, fact-specific issue is. So I think my recommendation would be that you leave it open. That said, to the extent I understand that you're not comfortable with the language regarding the confidentiality of the complainant, and I think that your point is a well-made one. I mean, I think it's reasonable to fear that you do not get to face your accuser, I guess is the way we word that. So it's really just a balance between protecting and encouraging complainants to come forward and for people to report bad conduct versus, so that's on one side, and then the other side is protecting the city officials' ability to know who is accusing them of wrongful conduct. So council will have to make a decision. Neither of those is unlawful. Both of those are completely appropriate for code. If you do want to make a motion to eliminate that protection for people filing a complaint, you would simply move to remove subsection G from section 202.050.
Is there anything further, Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Secondly, in the financial benefits section where it says that an ethical violation is a position where somebody recovers $1,000 or more is an ethics violation. I have a slight issue with this. And the issue is that $1,000, is it in a direct, immediate action from the vote that would be, or the approval that would be brought before the council? Or what would happen if it's indirect? I'll give you an example of an indirect one. An issue comes before the council, and it is for, say, a code change, and the council approves it. At a later time, the subject property becomes available for sale, and one of the council members who happens to be a realtor picks up the contract. Well, okay, so that when that sale is made, because of the ordinance, which could have been done several years ago, the council person who is a realtor makes a substantial amount of money off of that. I mean, there's no way in all cases that you can foresee the indirect benefits of some of the actions that we take. And yet the reward or the benefit could follow down the line. So, in my opinion, the latter would not be a code of ethics violation. I mean, it might be a little bit gray, but it isn't an immediate direct benefit from the vote that was taken. Now, I'll give it to you, and I'll be more forthright. We will have an issue that will come up before the council for funding for an airport expansion. I represent airlines, and I've been talking to the Airports Commission and Public Works in bringing airlines to the knowledge of the city. Well, if we go and expand the airport, and one of these airlines comes back and says, "Oh yes, we will go in here. Oh, by the way, Tim, I need some aircraft approval." Now, is that an ethics violation? When I vote for it, I'm not thinking that I'm going to get an immediate gain. So it's an indeterminate gain. But it certainly could be far more than $1,000.
Well, to answer that question, I would say there's a couple things. So when we look at action, we look at that action. What is your mindset? What is your knowledge base at that moment when you're making a vote or when you're casting your vote, when you're taking your official actions? So that's one. So to the extent things happen that you don't know could happen, you're not expected to predict the future. You are simply expected to make decisions in that moment designed to serve the public's interest rather than your own. So when we go to substantial financial interest, if, let's say you have an interest that's more than $1,000 and you disclose that interest. And so you've disclosed an interest, you've said it's substantial, a substantial financial interest, but then you say that you're not sure about it and that it's indirect. So that council can take that up, even though there's a presumption of $1,000. The council can look to the factors, and the factors are whether the financial interest is a substantial part of the consideration, whether the financial interest will be significantly impacted or changed by the outcome of the official action, and whether it's immediate and known or attenuated and dependent on factors beyond the official action. So it's not.
So with that remark, if it was an immediate or a near-term gain of $1,000, like we could live with that because now you've codified the expectation. But if you just simply say $1,000, 2 years from now, that could actually happen. Now remember, we know what we're talking about right now, but 2 years from now, somebody who wants to get back to Tim Johnson could use this code against him because it's not clarified.
Well, I can say, so this definition involves two things. It involves a presumption, and then it involves the court balancing factors. So it's all grounded, the language is grounded in the considerations that we have in Alaska, which provides a lot of protection for the council. But if, let's play this out. Let's say that you make a decision, an official action, and 2 years later it benefits you in a way that you did not anticipate that exceeds $1,000. And then someone files a complaint saying, hey, he took official action 2 years ago, and look, now he's made $50,000. If I got that complaint, the first consideration would be whether or not there was any knowledge base. Are they, and so when we just to get to the hearing officer, the first thing we're gonna say is if you take all these facts as true, could there be a violation? And in that scenario, when you don't know, when there's no evidence that you know, there couldn't be a violation. If you didn't know, and again, you're not able to. So you wouldn't be disclosing an interest. So you, at the time, do not have $1,000 or more. You would not be disclosing an interest. You don't have a conflict of interest yet. Does that make sense?
I guess I'm still very uncomfortable because you're presuming that this hearing office, whoever he is or she is in the future, will possess the understanding that you have right now. And I'm not so sure of that.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Brown?
ethics, so the citizens understand in this conversation, ethics is based on my intent, my knowledge, and what I'm planning to do. If I don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now, and I don't know what's going to happen 2 years from now, I am allowed to vote on an issue. If some point, one day, 1 year later, there appear to be some benefits coming to me, I have an obligation to the citizens of Wasilla to come before the council and say, I voted on this issue a year ago, but now I am getting a financial benefit from this, and have the council decide what to do. You have the city clerk and the attorney who will see the complaint first. They will have some knowledge of the law, and then you will have a judicial hearing officer. So unless we have no faith in the city clerk, the city attorney, or the hearing officer, then we may have a problem. What we don't want to do is persuade citizens from coming forth and holding us accountable, because we work for the citizens of Wasilla. They get to hold us accountable, they get to file complaints, and they get to say what we can and can't do. It's up to the other officials, the city clerk and the lawyer and the hearing officer, to see if it's valid. If it's determined not to be valid, it will never see the light of day. The press won't know about it, nobody will know about it. But I think we have an obligation to the citizens of Wasilla to allow them to hold us accountable for the position we hold. They pay us for a position. We volunteer for this position. We don't get to sidestep it and not have some kind of accountability. That's what ethics is about.
Councilman Brown, this is Councilman Johnson. I respect your opinion. The problem is that you're trying to codify things, okay, and you're not being specific as to how the code is written. So you just told me things that you understand as it is right now, but it's not codified. That's your understanding, and I understand that's your belief. That's a good belief. I'm not disputing that. The issue is that if you were to codify what you just said, that'd be one thing, but you're not. You're leaving it ambiguous at the $1,000 point.
Councilmember Graham, I am just a little, I'm a little confused on this one, so I might need you to walk me through some of this analysis. And I think one of the things I'm missing is we have, with the adoption of this court, Wasilla will have one of the, if not the most specific substantial financial interest definitions and financial interest definitions in the state, because we are taking the test that the court provided, which a few other communities, including the Matsu Borough, have, and we're codifying that. We're also adding this presumption of $1,000, and then codifying the council's consideration of rebutting that presumption. So it is a very detailed definition, but one of the things that is worth noting, no matter what you do today, whether you guys adopt a code of ethics or not, the one thing you're not getting away from is the common law definition of conflict of interest and substantial financial interest. You will be subject to that test, which is, and you're correct, it really does have some ambiguity, because it is designed not to protect the government official. It's designed to protect the public. And so what the court wants to do is the court wants to look at what you did and when you did it. When you issued an official action, you had no idea or expectation that you would profit from it. You didn't have a conflict of interest. And that's reflected in these definitions, and it's also, you're protected under common law. So I think that there's more comfort there than you're seeing. I hope that brings a little more comfort.
All right, I haven't heard from Councilmember Rubio. Councilmember Rubio, do you have something to offer?
No, I mean, actually, I agree with Simon, or Councilman Brown, with that we are here to serve the public and definitely do our job. So, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, anything else?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have one question.
Mr. Brown.
Sorry.
That's okay.
To the attorney, if I believe someday the action I'm taking today might possibly benefit me, what would you advise me to do?
Well, first, you'd want to disclose it. You want to say, I don't have a specific interest, but given the facts surrounding this, there is a very good chance that this will benefit me in the future. And then the discussion is, how much will it benefit you in the future? And how attenuated is that benefit? And it's a discussion. And it's a discussion because it has to be, and that's what the court will do. It's not always easy, and I wish it was black and white, but it really is let's figure out how much this could be impacting the decision you're making.
And if I declare it could be more than $1,000, what would you advise me?
I would probably advise you to abstain from the vote. And one of the things that we have is we have a case called Griswold versus the City of Homer. And in that case, we kind of saw this exact scenario play out where a council member, I think it was a council member, might have been a commission member, but they voted on something, on a zoning district decision that would have arguably in the future an impact on the property value in this very small area. And the court found that that was a violation of the, that they should not have participated, that it was a conflict of interest. So despite the fact that Homer's city code did not have a definition for substantial financial interest, the court based this on the court's analysis, which is incorporated into your
And Holly, Madam Mayor, to the body, that process is actually on page 17 of the packet, page 7 of the ordinance, 201040, that talks about declaring the conflict. And then you disclose it, the mayor determines whether the interest exists, and then the council can ultimately override the mayor's decision. And that recusal, that abstention is throughout the entire process until things change. And we have that today, we just didn't have the guidance on a dollar amount. Correct me if I'm wrong.
great thing too is you can now, I mean, under the code, if you adopt it, you can get an advisory.
Mm-hmm.
So if you feel really conflicted on, is this really a conflict of interest? Because you may be voting on a lot of different things that impact a particular industry or area, and your knowledge of that area makes you a valuable council member. It's having that input at the diocese is important. So that is in that scenario, the first thing I would hope is you contact the clerk and you get an advisory opinion. So it's not only is it a comprehensive opinion, but it gives you protection.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I need a motion to exit the committee of the whole.
Councilman Brown, I move again to exit.
Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
The motion's been made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Rubio, and we are now out of committee of the whole. And we'll have about a 5-minute recess. We're back on the record at 6:56. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the next ordinance scheduled for public hearing this evening.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's ordinance serial number 2213, amending Wasilla Municipal Code Title II Administration by adding Chapter 2.01 Code of Ethics and Chapter 2.02 Ethics Complaints to enact a Code of Ethics and an Ethics Complaint Process, amending Wasilla Municipal Code 276040 duties to authorize hearing officers to determine ethics complaints for the purpose of implementing a code of ethics and enforcement process for city officials, amending Wasilla Municipal Code 390050, conflicting interests prohibited, and Wasilla Municipal Code 390060, prohibited acts, to apply Chapter 2.01 Code of Ethics, conflict of interest definitions to employee conduct, repealing Wasilla Municipal Code Chapter 212, city officers generally, Wasilla Municipal Code 244-100, conflict of interest, Wasilla Municipal Code 508-200, ethics of contracting and purchasing, and incorporating parts of these provisions into Chapter 2.01 Code of Ethics, repealing Wasilla Municipal Code 514-040, ethics and conflicts of interest in its entirety, and consolidating ethical rules and definitions applicable to city officers in a single chapter.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
The public hearing on ordinance serial number 2213 is open. Anyone who would like to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. Seeing no one, public hearing is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2213?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Brown, I move 2213 and everything the city clerk said.
And I second it. Rubio.
It's been moved by Councilmember Brown and seconded by Councilmember Rubio to adopt ordinance serial number 2213. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Brown?
I'd like to make an amendment. I move to amend ordinance 2213 by adding subsection F to section 2-02-020 to state, if a complaint is filed against the city clerk, the mayor or the mayor's designee shall serve as the city clerk for the purpose of this chapter. A person filing a complaint against the city clerk may file the complaint with the mayor's office. If a complaint is filed against the city clerk may retain outside legal counsel to serve as the city attorney for the purpose of this chapter. This amendment is located on page 18, ordinance line 438.
Okay,
Second.
I need a second.
Rubio seconds.
It's been made, the amendment's been made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Councilmember Rubio. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor, Mr. Graham.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Councilman Brown, where did you say I could see that amendment?
Say again.
Page 18,
Oh,
line
yeah,
438.
438, I'm sorry.
I was just recognized by Madam Mayor. So this is the city clerk through Madam Mayor to the body. This is actually really just a technical amendment. It was discussed earlier on, and after reviewing the ordinance, we realized that it was accidentally omitted. And so this, of course, just provides a process whereby if an ethics complaint was filed either against the city clerk or the city attorney, there would be a process for it. Of course, we would be recused because the complaint is filed against us.
Okay. Is there further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Johnson?
Madam Mayor, and to the council, I at the current time believe that the ethics thing is in, I would say, a 95% state to move forward. However, I think that there are still issues that I would like to personally see worked out and additional questions worked out on the side. I would really like to see this postponed until additional discussions have happened. While I think that we're almost there, I just don't feel comfortable at the current time with moving it forward. Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And a question to Mr. Brown and the clerk. Was that amendment available in writing to persons attending, on site at the city council meeting?
Yes, it is.
If you'd like an at ease, Mr. Graham, I can sure email it to you or take a picture of it and text it to you, if that will help.
It would help. I think it's inappropriate that folks that are attending telephonically, when it's known they're attending telephonically, didn't have the.
We will have a 3-minute at ease.
You'll be getting it to your city email, Mr. Johnson and Councilmember Graham.
We're back on the record at 7:04. Mr. Graham, did you get your email?
It just popped up. Thank you, ma'am.
Is there further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. Roll call. Madam Clerk, take a roll call vote, please.
This is on the amendment.
Yes.
If everyone's ready to vote. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Yes?
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Vulock is absent. Councilmember Rubio.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, amendment number 1 passes unanimously. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Brown, and Rubio in favor. Councilmember Vulock is absent and excused.
Okay, now we are,
Madam Mayor,
yes,
I'd like to make a motion, please.
okay.
I'd like to move to a date certain for OR 2213 to be moved to May 23rd.
Is there a second?
Second by Councilman Johnson.
Is there further discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. If council would indulge me for just a moment. I don't wish to hold up the ethics ordinance. I think there's been a lot of incredible work done on this very important legislation. My concern is that we're not all at the council table, and I apologize that I'm not there, but I would like to see all of the council to be able to convene and discuss this just a little bit further before final adoption, and that's why I'm asking to have it moved to a date certain of May 23rd, if council would allow that.
Jamie?
Thank you. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, through the chair and to the body, I am actually going to be at a conference at the May 23rd meeting. Not that I don't have any faith in our deputy clerk, she's fantastic, but was there any objection maybe to postponing it to the June 13th meeting?
So what is proper in this ability to make a motion to move it to a date certain? I can only go forward one meeting or two.
Technically one meeting, so on the 23rd, but if we could suspend the rules to bring it back on the 13th, if that's amenable to the body, or we can take it to the 23rd, and then on the 23rd, if we wanted to follow Roberts to the T, we would just immediately postpone to the 13th. It's really up to the body. And if you want to leave it on the 23rd, that's fine too. I have all the faith in our deputy clerk. I just wanted to bring that up.
She made a motion. Do we need a second?
So I'll leave it for the 23rd, and then from there, if it needed to be extended out to the 13th of June, we could do it at that meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Okay.
Councilman Graham, seconds.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please take a roll call vote.
Thank you. This is on the postponement of ordinance serial number 2213 as amended, because we have one amendment that was approved this evening to the May 23rd council meeting. Councilmember Sullivan Leonard?
Yes?
Councilmember Graham?
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Rubio?
Yes.
Motion to postpone time certain May 23rd city council meeting passes with Councilmember Sullivan Leonard, Graham, Johnson, Brown, and Rubio in support.
Now do we go back to the main motion? We're done.
Yep, we're done with it.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title of the last ordinance scheduled for public hearing.
Thank you. That's ordinance serial number 2214, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget by accepting and appropriating an economic development administration grant in the amount of $70,000 for a comprehensive economic development strategy, SEDS, and appropriating $70,000 from the general fund balance and transferring the funds in the amount of $70,000 to the CIP fund for the local match requirement.
The public hearing on ordinance serial number 2214 is open. Anyone who would like to testify, please come forward and begin by stating your first and last name. You have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, the public testimony is closed. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance serial number 2214?
Mr. Graham moves to adopt 2214.
Is there a second?
Second by Councilman Johnson.
It has been moved by Councilmember Graham and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to adopt ordinance serial number 2214. Is there discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Mr. Graham?
So, Mr. Graham here. I just wanted to say that, this is an important part of our growth process here in the city. We've been growing for, 20 some odd years consistently, and we're finally at that point now where the federal government is going to make some money available to us to help plan that growth, that economic development strategy. and accepting this money really makes a huge difference in moving that forward, as opposed to having to, the council having to piecemeal this to move forward. So this is a great thing, and I commend Ms. Nygaard for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Is there further discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Colleen.
Yes, thank you. Could we have administration give a summary on this, please? That way people who may be listening to the recording would understand what this says is all about and how important it is for the city.
Okay, Ms. Nygaard.
Yes, this is a tool that is offered by the Economic Development Administration on a federal level for the aid in planning and really strategizing the growth of a community. What it does is it looks at the community from that economic perspective of how do we fit into the world, how do we fit into the state, and what are our priorities, and how do you look at an inventory of assets that you have and monetize them based on your strengths and your weaknesses. This is something that the state of Alaska is doing right now. They're updating their sets, and we will be one of 6 in the state that will partake in these conversations of putting together a 10-year strategy of how we're going to grow our city.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none. Is there objection to the motion? Then the ordinance serial number 2214 is adopted. We are now at persons to be heard. Miss Ilene, been very patient.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. I'm here representing WASI. My name is Ilene Falkenstein. Wasilla Area Seniors Incorporated, otherwise known as WASI. We have a lot going on. Actually, we had a celebration on May 6th that recognized Older Americans Month. We had a proclamation from Mayor Ledford and Todd Smolder from the governor's office proclaiming such. We also are in the process of starting our gardening and beautifying the new apartments at Willow House. We need volunteer help to assemble the planters and help purchasing soil and compost. So if anyone has knowledge of anyone that would be able to volunteer to help or to donate soil or compost, please contact Marlene at Wasilla Area Seniors. We also had a great lunch this week. Our lunch sponsor was Donna Coate. That was done today. It was a Mother's Day lunch. We also are always welcoming people who would like to sponsor one of our congregate lunches. Again, that would go through Marlene. We're also getting ready for our Meals on Wheels online auction, which will begin opening up on June 4th and will continue through June 17th. So far, we have items such as gift certificates from Basil Ginger, gift certificates from Fisherman's Choice Charters, family day passes for Muskox Farm, a 200 gift certificate for Happy Home House Cleaning. Who couldn't use that? Allen and Peterson gift certificate, Splash and Dash gift certificates, Major Marine Tours, 4-hour Kenai Wildlife Tours, and a lot of other items that would be great to either purchase for yourself or friends or family. We're also going to be doing Mouse for Meals on June 24th. That will be our 5K walk, run, or virtual event. You can find people who will sponsor you, or you can sign up to participate in the event. And as always, WASI is grateful for the support of the mayor and council members who continue to realize that our seniors are very important members of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Ilene? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We will be moving on to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Items for approval under our consent agenda this evening are the special meeting minutes of April 13th, the special meeting minutes of April 14th, 5:30 PM meeting, special meeting minutes of April 14th, 6 PM meeting, regular meeting minutes of April 25th, and special meeting minutes of April 27th, 2022. Introductions, we have two ordinances up for introduction. Public hearing date of May 23rd, 2022. The first is Ordinance Serial Number 2215, amending Wasilla Municipal Code Title III, Personnel by amending Section 34510, Definitions, to revise the definition of family member, add the definition of seasonal position, and amend the definition of workday and work week, amending Section 350.020, Types of Positions and Appointments, to add seasonal position and to revise the process for determining the rate of pay for interns, amending Section 350.050, Selection of New Employees, to clarify the process for selecting new employees, and amending Section 360.010, regular hours of work, standard work week, and work day, to clarify that when the work week and workday begin and end, and making other minor revisions. Ordinance Serial Number 2216, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget by accepting and appropriating an Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $37,026 for overtime hours used in conjunction with the Matsu Drug Enforcement Team operations. We have one resolution for approval, Resolution Serial Number 2207, authorizing the transfer of funds within an accounting fund in the amount of $240,000 to expand parking at the Menard Center, amending the project name from Farmers Market Pavilion to Parking Lot Expansion, and amending the scope of work from Pavilion Construction to Parking Lot Expansion. 1 AM for approval, AM number 2209, contract award to Pacific Power Group in the amount of $87,527 for the purchase of a standby generator for Richmond Hills Booster Station.
Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, Councilman Brown.
Okay, the motion's been made by Councilman Brown. Is there a second?
Rubio seconds.
It's been seconded by Councilman Rubio. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. We are on to unfinished business. We have none tonight. The new business is the update from administration on emergency response efforts related to COVID-19. I have not taken any new measures in response to COVID-19. Communications, we have none. Audience comments. Is there anyone present who would like to address the City Council at this time? If so, please come forward. State your first, last name. Seeing no one, audience comments is closed, so we'll move on now. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick follow-up with the council. You had received an email from me on April 26th, but I just wanted to reconfirm, are any of you interested in attending Wasilla High School graduation May 19th, 7 o'clock at the Menard Center, Matsu Central Schools graduation May 20th, 1 o'clock at the Menard Center, Rochelle High School May 20th, 7 o'clock at the Menard Center?
I'm gonna attend the Wasilla.
Wasilla, okay. I will be in touch, Ms. Rubio, then on some seating arrangements. Anyone else?
Mr. Graham,
Is there a particular or all three?
all three, please.
Okay. And so I'll be in touch with you tomorrow on some seating arrangements, okay? And then we'll
Thank you.
see you all here. Well, I won't see you. As I said, I'll be traveling. Next regular meeting, May 23rd. Sarah Stanifer will be acting clerk. I'll be attending the International Institute of Municipal Clerks Conference in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I'll see you all back here June 13th, regular City Council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only comment I have is I just want to encourage all of you to get in touch with the clerk if you have any questions that you think might benefit on the Code of Ethics specifically, might benefit from a little more thought or a little more, some sort of correspondence with me before the June 13th. That you'll take advantage of that. I know we have a couple of members that might be. Otherwise, no further comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Rubio.
Ooh, you're starting with me tonight.
Yeah.
Hey. What do I want to start with? I think we should all run the miles for meals. You should make every city council member do it. With the mayor. That'd be great.
Code of ethics, does it have anything?
Running.
No running.
No running? Okay. And then the code of ethics, I think definitely that they've done a great job of it. I'm just coming into it, obviously. But I think there's definitely a lot of things, like the attorney said, that's not black and white, a lot of gray. So I think that we should definitely look into not trying to make everything black and white, and allowing our system to do what it's supposed to do, and that's protect everybody that is involved. And other than that, I think that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilmember Johnson.
Madam Mayor, thank you. Thank you, council, for putting up with me. I appreciate that, and I do recognize the work that Councilman Brown has done on this code of ethics. I realize that it is, very, very good and very detailed, and I know that it took an awful lot of work, and I want to express thanks to him especially, and to the other people involved in it. So thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate working with me. That's all I have.
Okay, Councilmember Sullivan Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank everybody for the thoughtful discussion tonight and everyone's hard work, and I look forward to seeing everybody at the May 23rd meeting in person. So everybody have a good night. Thank you.
Councilmember Brown.
No comments, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a couple comments. I'm sure that comes as no surprise. Number one, I appreciated the proclamation for Arbor Day here in the city of Wasilla. I hope that we will not just make a proclamation, but kind of follow up with the tree folks when they have their seedlings day, so the city can support and help with that handing out of seedlings for trees, so that everyone can make their property better, particularly after the harsh windstorm that we had this winter. And I think a few new trees is always a good thing. The second thing is Alaska Municipal League, or AML. Their board meeting is on the 17th, which is next week. It's in Anchorage. Scheduled to be a long one-day event. Both Councilperson Vredock and myself are members of the board, so we will be attending. I don't know if either of us will be staying for one day or one night or not. The event is at the Captain Cook, but I don't know, Madam Clerk, if we need approval or just to say, as part of our normal duties as being on the board of AML, that's just a normal expense expected by the city. Did you have a comment on that?
Thank you, through the chair, to Councilmember Graham. Technically, we didn't budget funds for that in the budget, but there is funds available. So if there's no objection from the body, I can work directly with you and Ms. Vlock on, if you'd like to stay the night in Anchorage at the Captain Cook, and there's no objection, I'm happy to make those reservations for you and then charge that to the city.
All right. Thank you for looking into that.
Okay.
And lastly, I want to say how pleased I am with city cleanup days. I thought the city did a great job of advertising and promoting cleanup days. I hope that we each did as well. I know in my neighborhood there was all sorts of people out cleaning up debris from the windstorm. I mean, we still have a lot of work left to do, but it was a great start. And I saw the Wasilla High School out cleaning up today. Their grounds, which was great, and I've seen piles and piles and piles of trash. I don't know if they all got hauled off to Idita Park or not, but as an afterthought, I would like to see that perhaps next year we budget or we make available funding for city trucks and city personnel to be able to travel all the streets in the city on the Monday following cleanup week to find any trash bags that weren't hauled to identify. But I was very impressed with the number of the people that came out, the number of businesses that came out, and the gratitude that we received. I know with my Rotary Club, we went and cleaned up a part of the Parks Highway, which was severely impacted by the windstorm, and the businesses were very, very thankful that we were there. And of course, even though they were short-staffed, they did what they could to help us. So to the citizens of Wasilla, I say great, and to the administration in Wasilla, I say great job as well. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. It's been an interesting meeting tonight, so, and like to reiterate what our city attorney said on this, if you've got questions or whatever, please get them to the clerk till they can be dispersed, and that the attorney has a chance to go over them and everything before the meeting, because that helps things along, and she's not shuffling to try to find where you're at. So if you would do that, please, that would help a lot. Other than that, thank you so much for your time this evening, and we will see you here on May the 23rd.
Yes, ma'am.
We are adjourned at 7:27.